we have to dress in black or have our music be as simple and toned down as possible. It's okay to be rejoicing. It's okay to have symbolism that shows us the faith that we cherish. That's not a sin. It could be abused, I suppose, but it's not a sin in and of itself.
It's okay to have traditions that comfort us so long as they point us to Christ.
Yes. Interesting point was raised about, you don't hear people saying, let me think. Antonin Scalia, one of the Supreme Court justices, he really should stop wearing that black robe in those pictures. That's just not very cultural of him to do that. Or the Queen, she should stop wearing, her queenly dress. You don't hear that. And the guest said it's because people actually respect those offices and they think they do something important. Well, let's be honest, the Queen of England is not very important in terms of doing things, right? It's a figurehead. Whereas a pastor, the pastoral office, isn't a figurehead. This is an office where Christ actually works through for the good of his people. So if any office is really important, it's the one of pastor, because whatever the Queen does, whatever the Supreme Court justices do, that's only going to last for this life. It's not going to be any good when you and I die. But what is given out by Christ through the office of the ministry, that will last. It will have consequences forever.
It's strange that you talk about this, because on the radio today they were talking about how the new governor was going to dress tonight. Is he going to have a tie on or not? Apparently he's not showing up with ties very often, and they're wondering if he's going to show up with a tie tonight on his speech.
Yeah.
Or a speech.
Yeah, you do see a
Or a speech.
He's gonna wing it.
a whittling down of that authority and that respect of office across the culture, and unfortunately we're kind of being swept along with it in a lot of ways as pastors. The pastor is not the source of God's gifts, but he's a vehicle or instrument through which the gifts are given out. All right. We use fine things in church. We don't have Dixie cups to serve you the Lord's Supper in. We don't,
Although
We-
We
we-
did go plastic, yes.
Well, that was
Yeah.
I stand by my statement, we don't have Dixie cups. Correct? We can agree upon
Yeah,
that.
that's good.
Yeah.
Let's make sure Dixie doesn't make those.
Yeah, but even the box that encases the hosts, is nice. It doesn't look like a little cardboard box or something like that. And we do that not to say, oh, look at St. John's, we have nice things here. But we do it to honor the God who comes to us. That was the big point that was made. And shouldn't we do that as well in terms of even the way we as lay people dress as well when we come to God's house? There is still an element of, this is not going to a party, sort of thing that should be in people's minds. This is something different. Show respect for your Lord in the way that is culturally appropriate for you to show respect. I'm not saying, girls, you gotta wear a dress, because as cultures shift, there are ways for women and men to show respect by the way they dress.
And hats, women.
And hats.
Now, Gary's grandfather, to show you right in the Bible where it said women should wear hats.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
It hasn't
Well, they
changed.
tried showing me that right after we got married. I'm like, I'm not wearing a hat.
Oh, yes,
I went to a church service when I was growing up, my grandparents, and my women sat on one side of the church and the men sat on the other side of the church. Germans, it was German service.
Yeah, things have
We can
changed.
talk about that some other time, that whole issue. I'd love to get into that discussion. Okay. The idea of pastors wearing clerical collars, again, is very helpful to make them recognizable. And you know what? I've seen this. I do not wear my clerical collar every day of the week. There are some guys that I graduated with from the seminary who I think wore them in the shower. You wouldn't see them with a clerical shirt on. As seminary students.
I gotta tell you, when we had the Christmas dinner here, there were a lot of people here that were on church. And I was talking to some of the people, and he said, oh yes, he said, I spoke with Father over there.
Yeah.
He either pointed to you or Brad.
Yeah, we get called father all the time. That's the assumption that because we dress that way we're Catholic. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't wear a clerical shirt every day I go to the hospital. I go on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week. Usually on one of those days I'm wearing a clerical collar. It's probably 50-50, 1 or 2 days out of those 3. there have been times when I've gone into someone's room at the hospital or at a nursing home where the person is not in a good state of mind, and they totally knew who I was right away if I was wearing the clerical shirt, but struggled a bit if I wasn't. I had to reintroduce myself to them. Even if they didn't know my name, they at least knew by what I was wearing who I was. Just like if a strange man came into the room without a nurse's clothing on or a doctor's clothing on, they'd be kind of freaked out maybe. Who is a strange person in my room? And so, maybe I ought to do a better job of that, to wear a clerical shirt every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just for the sake of people. But I visit people on Tuesdays too, so in terms of homebound members, so.
You should be more like your classmates.
I know, yeah, maybe they had it right. But there is something to wearing a uniform, as uncomfortable as it might be to wear one of those things sometimes. Okay, and to wrap up tonight, why is it comforting for God's people to see their pastor wearing, let's just say, special clothing?
Well, I think it puts that person in a position of recognized authority. Whatever they say is God's word, and it's, maybe authority isn't the right word, but it certainly goes beyond just being an important person. It goes beyond that.
Okay, yeah, I think there's two things at play, and you've hit the one. Is first of all that this person has been set aside by God for a specific purpose, okay? And, and we have that, thankfully, in all of our services here, in one way or the other. There is a special garb that is worn by the pastors to set them apart. And then the second reason is equally as important, and that the vestments are worn intentionally to hide, at least in theory, the individuality of the man, and to showcase Christ through various symbols. And you even see the symbol for Christ right here. These symbols. Notice that Pastor Kim and I don't have pictures of ourselves or our families embroidered onto our stoles, right? But of symbols about Christ and what He's done for us. That's very important as well. Do you have any questions or other comments about this topic that you can think of?
I did not get the one that said the pastor is not blank.
Oh, not the source of God's gifts, but the vehicle